In the grim and frostbitten world of the Elder Scrolls Skyrim, necromancy is no laughing matter. It is a forbidden art, a manipulation of the sacred balance between life and death. To most, the practice is abhorrent, an act reserved for the darkest corners of Tamriel. Yet in this world of undead horrors, Daedric cults and vampire covens, there exists one figure whose infamy transcends horror and dips into the bizarre: the Paltry Reanimator. Unlike the King of Worms or the powerful necromancers of the College of Winterhold, the Paltry Reanimator's story is not one of ambition, conquest, or the pursuit of forbidden knowledge. It is one of absurdity, a case so strange it borders on parody. And yet it reflects something deeply human about Skyrim's relationship with magic, madness, and meaning. But while other necromancers raise armies of the dead, the Paltry Reanimator chooses to raise chickens. And in that act, Skyrim's dark tone fractures, revealing humour, tragedy, and mystery in equal measure. To understand the legend of the Paltry Reanimator, one must first understand Skyrim's strange relationship with chickens. In most of the province, chickens are sacred, not in a religious sense, but in a cultural one. To harm or steal a chicken is to commit an unforgivable act. Guards will kill over it, bounties will be placed. The killing of a single chicken can unleash more fury than slaying a Jarl's son. So when word spread that a necromancer had not only killed chickens, but reanimated them, Skyrim's people reacted with equal parts of horror and confusion. The Paltry Reanimator, whose real name, if they ever had one, is lost to history, was said to dwell on the outskirts of civilization, practicing forbidden arts in some remote cave or ruin. Unlike most necromancers who filled their lairs with human skeletons and corpses, this one was surrounded by the undead forms of squawking, clucking chickens, an unholy parody of barnyard life. To some, it was a comedy, to others it was blasphemy, and to a few, particularly those who understood the deeper lore of necromancy, it was something far more unsettling, a sign of madness taken to its logical extreme. But who really was the Paltry Reanimator? There is no questline dedicated to them. Why would there be? There's no journal revealing their thoughts, no official record. And yet players who stumble across necromantic scenes involving reanimated poultry, or find hints of the act scattered through Skyrim's random encounters, inevitably piece together the myth. Some believe the Paltry Reanimator was once an apprentice of Phineas Gester, or another necromancy sympathetic mage from the College of Winterhold. Banished for unethical experimentation, they turned to forbidden research. But unlike others, their ambition was not grand. They were not trying to achieve immortality or to conquer death. Instead, they seemed fascinated by the process itself, the strange interplay of life and energy, of soul and form. But why chickens? Perhaps because chickens are harmless, perhaps because they are plentiful, or perhaps because, to a mind slowly unravelling under the weight of obsession, the difference between a corpse and a carcass becomes literally meaningless. In this way, the Paltry Reanimator represents a curious reflection of Skyrim's darker themes, that in a world where death is constant, even the grotesque can become ordinary. Necromancy in Skyrim is not a simple spell. It is a philosophy. It asks questions that even the divines fear. Was it the soul? Can it be owned, borrowed, or broken? The Paltry Reanimator's particular brand of necromancy turns this philosophy upside down. Rather than confronting death through grandeur or terror, they do so through absurdity. Imagine a ritual circle in a cave, candles burning, runes glowing, soul gems humming with trapped energy. And in the centre, not a fallen warrior or a corpse from a battlefield, but the limp body of a chicken. Then, as the spell takes hold, the chicken jerks upright, glowing with blue necromantic energy. It clucks, walks, perhaps even lays an unholy egg. It's ridiculous, but it's also deeply unsettling, because it reveals how far a human mind can wander when isolation and obsession take hold. To others, chickens are food. To the Paltry Reanimator, they are subjects, companions, and even proof that death can be undone. To understand how truly bizarre the Poultry Reanimator is, one must understand how necromancy is perceived in Skyrim. Unlike in Cyrodiil or Morrowind, where the practice is more openly discussed or integrated into culture, Skyrim's people view necromancy with visceral disgust. It is outlawed, shunned, and feared. Most Nords revere death as sacred, the passage to Sovngarde, a warrior's paradise. To disturb the dead is to deny them their eternal reward. Thus, necromancers are treated not just as criminals, but as heretics. That makes the Poultry Reanimator's existence even more absurd. They weren't just defying divine law, they were defiling it for poultry. The sheer absurdity of the act made them infamous. The Poultry Reanimator wasn't terrifying like the vampires of Movarth's lair, or tragic like Sinding the werewolf. They were something else entirely, a living joke that nonetheless carried the moral weight of blasphemy. This tale seems uniquely bizarre, and yet Skyrim is a land built on countless such strangeness. It's a world where sorrow, mystery, and absurdity constantly intertwine. For every grand fortress and noble tomb, there exists some lonely clearing or forgotten camp where small human tragedies unfold unseen. One of the most quietly haunting of these is Dead Lovers Camp, a remote campsite hidden in the wilderness, where two corpses lie side by side among empty bottles and cold ashes. I've already done a video on it, but there is no quest tied to it, no dialogue, no explanation. The scene simply exists frozen in time. Were they lovers who chose death together, victims of an attack? The game never really tells you unless you dig deeper. In this way, the Poultry Reanimator and Dead Lovers Camp share a strange kinship. Both are tiny stories that whisper something immense. Both transform Skyrim's wilderness into a stage for unspoken tragedy. And both, though utterly different in tone, one absurd, one melancholy, illustrate Bethesda's fascination with the human side of its world. The Poultry Reanimator's chickens, animated by necromantic energy, are absurd symbols of defiance against death. The lovers lying together forever are quiet symbols of acceptance. One tries to overcome morality through madness, the other yields to it in sorrow. These two spaces, one filled with dark humour, the other with heartbreaking silence, form two halves of Skyrim's soul. There is almost a poetic symmetry between these two forgotten corners of Skyrim. The Poultry Reanimator stands for defiance in the face of meaningless, the lovers represent surrender to it. The Necromancer, through grotesque humour, tries to master death, only to be consumed by it. The lovers, through devotion, embrace death together, and in doing so achieve a strange kind of peace. One is drenched in dark comedy, the other in tragedy. And yet both are distinctly Skyrim, quiet, off the beaten path, and entirely optional. That optionality is part of the magic. You could play Skyrim for hundreds of hours and never encounter either. They exist not to reward or punish the player, but to haunt them, to populate the world with mystery and emotion that feels spontaneous rather than scripted. Together, the Poultry Reanimator's place and Dead Lovers Camp form a kind of emotional compass for the game. One pointing towards madness, the other towards melancholy. Both show that Skyrim's true soul isn't just in dragons or war, it's in the quietest absurdities and its softest heartbreaks. In that way, they elevate the game beyond fantasy. They make it more human. Both are ultimately reflections of the same truth, that in Skyrim, beauty and horror, laughter and grief coexist in the same frozen breath. And perhaps that is what makes the world of Skyrim endure long after its dragons have fallen silent. Its ability to hold both absurdity and sincerity in perfect balance. You never know what waits around the next bend, a corpse clutching a love letter, or a chicken reanimated by dark magic. That uncertainty, that blend of awe and unease is what keeps players exploring. Because somewhere, deep in the snow and silence, Skyrim's strangest stories are still unfolding, and the Poultry Reanimator and the lovers, though long gone, still whisper through its wilderness. Two tiny echoes of a world that never quite makes sense, but always feels real. Somewhere on the rocks, the blue glow of necromantic light still flickers. A chicken clucks in the darkness, and the laughter of a mad mage echoes faintly through the hills. In that moment, you realise perhaps madness and genius were never that far apart.